Be a wolf. Provide, lead, protect. Written by Landon Milbourne. Narrated by Garner. Easy Rider Entertainment. Copyright 2019. Introduction. We as men often try to relate to the male lion in all of his physical attributes. He is revered as the king of the jungle and the head of his pride. His polygynous relationships and unanimous respect from all other species may be admirable to some, but if we take a closer look into the lifestyle of the dominant male lion, we will see that there are more flaws than one could ignore. These same flaws happen to be present in some of the men in our society today. The life of an alpha male wolf happens to be a better guide for us to follow. His family values, his demeanor, and his leadership are only a few of the qualities that a real man should strive to imitate. This book can be used as a tool to put us back on track, to help us claim our rightful place in nature and fulfill our true purpose on this earth. Landon Milbourne. Be untamed. Be unleashed. Be free. The tiger and the lion may be more powerful, but the wolf does not perform in the circus. Anonymous. Quite a few of us have had the pleasure of observing the male lion in his natural habitat, roaming and ruling over all of the species in the jungle. We often see male lions held captive in zoos around the world, or even the more degrading circus, traveling from city to city. We tend to wonder how such a strong, powerful, and dangerous animal could allow a mere human to tame him. What set of circumstances occurred to have his royalty snatched from him forever without a fight to the death? Perhaps the lion chose to chase a dream of high-flying, acrobatic, flamed hoop jumping before crowds and stadium seats. Or maybe he was infatuated with the thought of being confined to a small space inside of a facility, full of spectators as they watch, wonder, and snap pictures all day. Possibly the lion could have grown tired of dealing with protecting a pride and really just wanted the simple life, domesticated with food served daily, rest, relaxation, and his health never threatened other than life's natural causes. One could make an argument and state that the male lion was selfish for accepting such a downgraded reality, leaving all of those lonely and defenseless adult female and cub prides to the wild without a protector, subject to all types of predators, violence, and despair. Useless, unworthy of reclaiming his rightful place in nature, a voice with no roar. Freedom. Free to be a man. Free to make, grow, and sustain a family while fulfilling his life's purpose at the same time. Free to build generational wealth and leave a legacy behind that will make him immortal. This is man's desire. With society standards, keeping up with the Joneses, parental expectations, social validation, and whatever the American dream is supposed to be, all keeps us trapped inside of this matrix called the rat race. I can't afford to quit my job, even though I know I could be richer and happier doing what I'm truly passionate about. I have bills that are due and can't risk missing a paycheck. I don't have the statistics for the amount of men this statement applies to, but I can only assume that this resonates with the majority of our working-class males. We were taught wrong. We learned at an early age to consume, fall in debt, fall in love, fall in more debt, have children, make them consumers, don't teach them much about debt, then slave our lives away while trying to pay for all of the debt in hopes to pass away debt-free. How can we truly call ourselves men if we succumb to such a slave mentality? Figuratively speaking, nothing should have a man by his balls. He must let them hang free. If there is debt, there should be good debt. Debt that helps produce income and equity. If there is a job, that job should be temporary. It should be used to help sustain your quality of life while you fight for your dreams after you punch the clock. Man's children should grow and watch as he makes sacrifices and takes the pain and the struggle on the chin. They should see a man's strength as he succeeds in spite of it all. A man should be an example of what a winner looks like. A man should study, plan, and attack life's test. Each win is a step forward. Each loss is a learning experience. A man must provide. He must lead. He must protect himself and his family at all costs, no matter what. Otherwise, he is considered useless, unable to claim his rightful place in nature, a voice with no base. The alpha male wolf is leader of his family or wolf pack. His status is unforced. His demeanor is highly confident, calm, and focused. What needs to be done will be done, and he is the most dependable wolf through constant delivery. The self-assurance and security makes it clear that the alpha male wolf has nothing to prove. To whom? Other than the likes of his own pups and mate, in which he has proved himself already with his usual daily actions. He is a leader by example. No bark, just bite and only bite when necessary. A provider, a teacher, and protector of all that belongs to him. His royalty through loyalty brings admiration from all who truly observe. His love, compassion, and purpose are never questioned. The alpha male wolf claims his rightful place in nature, and his howl can be heard from all species for miles and miles away. Be a provider. Manhood is defined and decided by the ability to nurture and to protect, by the capability to provide and to sustain. Joy Bell, C. In the wild, there are no chefs or servers. Animals survive by the cruel hierarchy of predator or prey, and lions are at the top of the food chain. Male lions usually leave the hunting to the lionesses of the pride. Not that he denies the opportunity through abstention, but providing is just simply not the role of the dominant male lion. His role is only to be the pride's protector. Quite frankly, having an experienced lion could be a handicap during a hunting siege. Ironically, the flamboyant mane of a lion can be a huge disadvantage. The purpose of the long and thick mane that male lions have is used to help protect their head and neck, which is the first target during combat. Since the lion is not the fastest animal in the jungle, they need to depend heavily on cleverness, strategy, and camouflage. A large, bushy, brown, black, or blonde mane could hinder the chances of capturing the meal of the day. Less physically imposing animals are always on high alert in the wild, so spotting the hunter is key to survival. In other words, King, you'll have to ride the bench during the game. The role of the lioness is to be the provider for the entire pride, and yet, the male lions are always the first to eat. Not only do they eat first, but they eat until completely satisfied, after which the lionesses and the cubs are left with the scraps. However, male lions will hunt for themselves if they are not a member of a pride, or they may be needed to take down a larger animal that the lionesses cannot handle on their own. But for the most part, the dominant male lion won't step a foot on the hunting grounds. Food, water, clothing, and shelter. Every human being deserves the right to have each of these necessities, even though every human being may not be capable of providing each for themselves or others. However, if you are a man and you are able, there is no excuse for failure in this mission. There are circumstances in which we all can understand temporary shortcomings. We can lose our jobs and struggle to find a way to replace that income. In this case, some men fall victim to depression and anxiety, and rightfully so, as at times we feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, and that weight can get heavier as life continues. One of the benefits of a family or a village is having the ability to help hold each other up when a member falls. But again, these are emergency situations with temporary solutions. No man should be comfortable with having his woman, his children, or another man provide for him and his own. Shared responsibility between spouses was normal in primitive times and is still suitable in today's modern world, especially in this economy. However, the bulk of stress that comes with providing should always rest on a man's shoulders. Individuals who are born into impoverished communities certainly have a set of obstacles between them and affluence. Some of these obstacles can easily be used as an excuse to take a route that would lead them to prison or death. Every man has the right to choose his own path. After all, if you do not burn out your desires will burn you out. But if a man should choose a route in which the destination is predetermined imprisonment or death, he should not collect a set of responsibilities that require him to be present in society. It would be very irresponsible for a drug dealer to impregnate a woman, knowing that he is destined to leave her widowed and or single with children. If a man plans to be a failure, he should plan to fail alone. Otherwise, the effects of his poor decisions will have a negative impact on his children and possibly future generations as well. We often see or hear about high-profile celebrities, athletes, and politicians who move around with an entourage. That entourage will consist of other men who are satisfied with being inferior. A yes man, doing whatever is required to earn value in the eyes of his superior. As compensation for being a hanger-on, one could be granted access, attention, and extras whenever the leader is feeling generous. How can anyone expect this lifestyle to be sustainable forever? When that bright star begins to fade away, the need of hanger-ons may still remain, but the access won't be sufficient enough to keep them around. If the members of the entourage are not employees or business partners, they should not expect to be held in high regard. A real man should not be an opportunist. A real man should be guided by principles and not led by the possibility of an instant gratification or a come-up. We should take pride in getting our hands dirty, putting in the work, and bringing the benefits of our efforts back to our families. We should take pride in showing our children how to make an honorable and respectful living. Hunting is a group effort in packs of wolves. The alpha male wolf is always in the middle of the fight. He usually chooses which animal to target and makes the decision to end the pursuit or not, depending on how well the hunt is going. Because wolves are relatively smaller animals compared to lions, it is even more imperative that they work together and strategize for each killing. Every wolf has a role depending on age, gender, rank, and strength. The female wolf has the task of distracting the prey or adding confusion to the group of animals under consideration. The cubs and younger wolves sit back and observe the tactics used in each hunt. The older, slower males may take down the largest animals, and the fastest ones may be used for chase downs. Though the alpha male wolf is entitled to have the first bite of the catch, he never puts his personal needs before the pack. He treats his family as equals, and the family treats him as their leader. Be a protector. Brave men rejoice in adversity, just as brave soldiers triumph in war. Lucius Seneca. Male lions have two roles within the pride: to mate and to protect. The male lion makes it his duty to impregnate as many of the female lions as possible within the pride. While cubs are born into the animal kingdom of royalty, there are extreme circumstances each cub will learn rather quickly. Cubs have a very high mortality rate, and if they do make it past the infant stages, life will continue to grow, even more dangerous. For example, male lions are only allowed to remain a member of the pride for 2 to 4 years before they leave on their own accord or are exiled by the older male lion pride members. The older dominant lion cannot risk the threat of a young lion's attack in an attempt to take over his pride. If a lion is successful in taking down the head of a pride to rule over its members, that successful lion has to kill all of the cubs who are under a year of age in that pride immediately. Sounds pretty harsh, right? This method is necessary for more than the purpose of protection, but also because every ruler must put his signature over all his new territory. Female lions can only mate while they are in heat, and this cannot occur while nursing their cubs. Male lions will never play the stepfather role. As a result, the cubs have to be discarded in order to make new cubs with the new alpha's genes. So with male lions, pride protection will be granted, but with contingencies. Relationships are challenging. It is not a surprise that most do not grow into a marriage, and almost half of our marriages in the U.S. end in divorce. Even more challenges are growing in this modern era as we constantly adjust and redefine our social construct. Young couples are beginning to stray away from the traditional roles and expectations we were used to seeing growing up. Cultural wedding themes, courthouse marriages, destination weddings, or simply no marriage at all. Regardless of how we decide to unite as one, we must always maintain the moral fabric of family. This begins with the male leader of the household. The man should never put himself in a place where his integrity is repeatedly tested. This can be very unhealthy, and one weak moment for the man could turn into a disastrous relationship at home. Man should protect his marriage and his family against any threat caused by infidelity, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. The relationship between the couple should always come first, even before the children, because the children will be negatively affected the most by an unhealthy and unhappy relationship between the parents. An example of this would be the scenario of a couple who stays together for the sake of raising their children. They choose to live a false reality to hopefully protect their children from heartache. Finally, those children grow into young adults and begin to take care of themselves, after which the parents go on their separate ways and leave the child confused as to how and when this split occurred. In the end, the young adult will still suffer. Life will become even more complicated during a stage when the young adult should begin to understand what an honest relationship should be. But what example would they have of an honest relationship? We must analyze the possible effects that our decisions may have on our children. Regardless if the children share our blood or not, they will still have an impact in society through positive acts or negative ones. We see the example of a horrifying trickle-down effect through child abuse. The trauma a child endures from being abused at an early age will create a mental dysfunction. This pain usually sticks with the child into adulthood, and as a result, this adult may practice similar abusive tactics on other people. The parents can be blamed for these acts because of the way that child was raised. We have to give our children a fair chance to grow into adulthood without trauma and without stress. We owe it to them, for they did not choose to come into existence. Male wolves inside of a pack are usually the alpha male and female wolf's offspring. They are never exiled from the pack, nor do they attack the alpha to replace him in status. They will instead to decide to leave the pack with the purpose of finding a mate and to grow their own family to lead. If packs should clash, it will be a territorial issue. Intruders are dealt with violently, but each pack's territory is always marked. Wolves may enter at their own risk, possibly to court a female of a different pack. If he should succeed, the alpha male wolf will often adopt the new cubs or play the stepfather role to the children of his mate without friction, as well as take care of the new cubs he helps reproduce. The alpha male wolf will discipline the pups when necessary. This discipline is never physical, always a vocal or lunging scare tactic to get the pup's attention and put them back in line. An interesting article by LifeScience.com states that of the 5,000 species that practice monogamy, wolves are among the 3 to 5% of those who form lifelong pairs. The alpha male wolf embraces fatherhood and companionship just as any honorable man would. Be a teacher. It is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. Frederick Douglass. On average, the dominant male lion will sleep for 20 hours a day. Day-to-day management of the pride is delegated to the female lions according to their strengths. Raising the cubs and having a real presence in the life of the youth is not something the head honcho is interested in. That task rests solely on the lioness as well. However, when it comes to procreation, the male lion is usually up for it. Lions will mate for up to 4 days and take 20 to 30-minute breaks between each session. The frequency is high because the male lion sperm is not very strong, and it will take this frequent amount of sexual encounters to ensure that the lioness is impregnated. Usually, the male lion has to mate with more than one female lion. By no means do lions have monogamous relationships. Due to these facts, most of the pride's female lions will mate during the same time frame. So even with a 20-hour-a-day sleep regimen, the male lion could still exercise the option to tap out from exhaustion, leaving the female ticked off and ready to move on to another mate. Female lions can judge whether the dominant male lion is healthy and stable enough to stick around for a while. If the lioness senses that the male lion in her presence can be dethroned by a stronger lion, she will withdraw herself from the mating periods to ensure her unborn cub's survival with the new king. Why waste time partaking in mating rituals and dealing with the pain of intercourse, all to have your cubs discarded by the new dominant male lion upon arrival? Survival is always the first priority. A recent article by edweek.org writes that in the United States of America, 77% of all school teachers happen to be women. To add to that statistic, African American Family Structure by Wikipedia reads, 70% of African American children are born to single mothers. In all, it is safe to conclude that close to 80% of our African American boys are in lack of a strong male influence at home and at school. We can see how this deficiency causes problems in our community. A ranking study by the statistics-based website Narrated.org called Effects of Parents on Crime Rates concludes that the absence of fathers is the number one cause of crime. Boys who are fatherless from birth are 3 times as likely to go to jail as peers from intact families, while boys whose father do not leave until they are 10 to 14 years old are 2 times as likely to go to jail as their peers from intact families. Maripedia.org. Understanding the importance of stability and balance in the life of a child is vital. Young boys need to have a healthy relationship with their father or father figure just as much, if not more, than their relationship with the mother. If we analyze the psychological effects on young boys who are born into single-parent homes, we would see that there is an obvious lack of learning and practicing nonviolent solutions during conflict. Women are instinctively more emotional than men. The relationship between men and women provides emotional balance inside of the household. When these levels are one-sided, the child will adapt and adopt the characteristics of that one side. The presence of a man will help the young boy learn to control his emotions and deal with conflicts among peers in more mature ways as adults should. In addition to learning how to control emotions and conflict resolution, we should also understand the importance of controlling hormones. In this society, sex is being promoted more than intellect. As children become increasingly curious, we need to meet their curiosity with proper teaching. We cannot expect the woman to control the child's learning curve alone. The man must provide balance in this area, as well as being a living example for the child to witness, and also by being descriptive of his own experiences, so the child can learn through parenting as opposed to music and entertainment. Generations of consistency in wolf behavior prove that the alpha male wolf is trained to have a certain set of parenting skills. The wolf father is playful with his cubs, but stern when necessary. The father will always be around to take charge in areas where the mother cannot deliver. After birth, the mother wolf will remain inside of the den with her cubs until the cubs are able to see, hear, and walk. The alpha male will provide everything his family needs to make sure that his partner does not have to leave the den. Wolf cubs are raised in extreme environments. Until cubs are able to feed themselves, they are either breastfed or they are fed regurgitated food from the mother's mouth. As they grow older, They are able to hide out and witness the pack during each hunt. While watching these hunts, cubs can gain critical thinking, strategy, teamwork, and leadership skills from the alpha and the other male wolves. Full of playful wrestling, teaching, and more, wolf males and a relationship with their cubs are closely similar to the traditional father-son relationship that all men should have a strong desire for. Be a leader. The wolf changes his coat, but not his disposition. Proverb. The lioness has the authority to decline any male lion that attempts to court her. She will judge the lion's health and age to determine if he will be able to protect her cubs if she should give birth. Since protection is really the only skill that the male lion can bring to the table, he may have to prove himself by defeating the dominant lion in charge of the pride. Otherwise, the lioness would have to base her decision off of his looks alone, and looks can be deceiving. Choosing the wrong mate can end in fatal consequences, specifically for her cubs. So, the courtship process is taken very seriously by the lioness, while the male lion usually just wants to claim his territory and sit on the throne as the head of his pride. An accomplished man, a self-confident, self-secure man, should never present a false image of himself in order to gain attention. Overcompensation will certainly show his insecurities. We understand that men will do whatever is necessary to attract a woman and persuade her to engage with him. We often make the mistake of overcompensating to prove our value to her, with the possibility of overlapping all of the other options of men the woman may have. This strategy of courtship may end in negative results when attempting to create a long-standing relationship. If there is a lack of transparency and honesty in the beginning stages of the relationship, it should not be a surprise when things take a turn for the worse. Respectable women desire consistency, stability, and security in their men. Men should understand the quality and the mentality of the women we attract by the way we present ourselves to her. If the perception of a man's day-to-day lifestyle is a lavish, prosperous, and abundant one, then he should expect to attract women who also want to live that same lifestyle. And he should expect to uphold that quality of living throughout the duration of the relationship. If he cannot, then he should not expect that woman to stick around. The lifestyle is what she desired in the beginning. If her perception of that man were any different, then he may not have had the opportunity to court her at all. We must be honest and be ourselves at all times. It is extremely difficult to uphold a false representation of who we really are. Men should not make themselves so vulnerable. Honest, inspirational, passionate, creative, decisive, committed. These are some of the qualities of a good leader. The ability to step up to all of the challenges of life and devise solutions to defeat each challenge is where a man should thrive. To embrace distress and pain with a straight face and keep moving forward. These are qualities men should put on display. This is a perception that can be met and upheld throughout any relationship. There is no fallacy in a wolf's character. A male wolf must court his mate just as any other species, but he must also prove himself with action. Since each wolf pack consists of actual family, usually birthed and raised by both the dominant female and male wolf, their union will remain intact for life. There is no annulment. The male wolf will not leave his pack due to defeat in battle or otherwise. This is the only way of life for the wolf. This is the promise that each dominant male wolf makes to his family. Stability, security, commitment. There is no other animal that can meet such standards, which come naturally and instinctually to the wolf, but man can certainly try. The end.